So yeah, I mean, perhaps he's not too happy with this position. I'm fairly happy with our position at the moment. I think we've got a few plans to work on. Whereas, well, I wonder. I mean, he could play h4 immediately if he wanted to be very aggressive. h4, h5 maybe. But I don't know if he did that. I mean, what could I do to that? I could play h6 and g5, or I mean that'd keep it close temporarily, but I'm sure he would then launch the f pawn down the board. Take him a couple of moves, obviously, to get his bishop out of the way again. But that doesn't seem too scary. Okay, so he's played queen d2. He's put a lot of thought into that. So he's no nearer playing his f-pawn forward. I mean, question is, I don't particularly want to swap off dark squared bishops. I don't think in this position. So, you know, I could play something like rook e8, and then if bishop h6, I can play bishop h8 and retain my dark squared bishop, which is, you know, looking quite handsome on that long diagonal. I'm thinking rook h8 at the moment. What other plans has he got? Is he maybe going to bring the other rook across to rook a to e1? Maybe get support e5 eventually. I could also perhaps play, I mean, there's still knight d7. I mean, knight d7, bishop h6. I could maybe just ignore it and play knight e5, which would be hitting the bishop on f3, but I think he just... well, then he'd have to play bishop e2, because obviously I'm hitting the pawn on c4. But still, at the end of it, I don't think that's a big... I think, you know, he's a perfectly good square for his bishop on e2. And he's ready to play f4 then. So I think he's doing okay in that line. I wonder if he's... I mean, I could maybe think about playing after rook e8. I wonder if he'd consider taking off the bishop for the knight and then sticking his bishop on the g4 square, where it's covering that useful diagonal. But I don't think there's that many problems in that line. You know, I don't have a light square bishop, so I suppose my light squares are fairly weak, but doesn't appear to be any crisis in that line. And also, you know, we'd already have opposite coloured bishops, so although that can be dangerous in the middle game, it'd be a drawish ending, perhaps. And his dark squares would be really weak then if he did that. So I'm thinking rook e8. I don't see any reason not to play rook e8. I suppose if I'm gonna be playing, if I am gonna maybe play f5 at some point, and it's taking a square, it's gonna mean I can't play knight e8, which would in some lines I suppose was a useful move. Say for example if he played e5, you know, I could get the knight to d6, which is a good stop square, you know, after this pawn's taken on e5. So that wouldn't be an option, but you know, I can still play knight d7. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, if the knight needs to move. So I think rook e8. I don't think I want to swap off dark square bishops. So rook e8, bishop h6, bishop h8, And then I think he will want to get rid of this bishop, so I think he might play something like bishop g2, getting ready to play f5. And the question is then, am I going to be playing f5 myself in that position? Because his rook is then on the f-file, mine isn't, so if I'm not, then he's gonna probably, well, he's probably gonna be aiming for e5. So I mean, I could play knight d7 in that position maybe. But then, I mean, he could even play f5, but is f5 a problem? I don't think that's a problem at all, f5, for him. I don't think. I think it's going to just weaken this diagonal. It's going to give me a nice hole here. I could maybe stick that knight would be very nice there. So I think I'm just going to play rook e8. Now I don't really see that bishop h6 will give him very much. So I don't think. I wonder if he will just play bishop g2, or even bishop e2. I mean, is that a problem? I suppose h3. I don't know. See, I still wouldn't be surprised if we saw king g2, rook h1, and attack down the h file, because that is kind of how Stephen plays. He likes to be very attacking. But I don't think. I think we should be fine with that. We've got enough cover. Really, I think we need to be working towards our counterplay as well, which, I mean, b5 is sort of a safer pawn break than f. At the minute I try and go for the f5 plan, you know, I am creating weaknesses. So, you know, I've got two. I could play on the king side with f5, or I could go for b5. I'll probably end up going for b5 first. He'll try and restrict me a bit with a4. You see, if I do play knight d7 and f5, well, yeah, I could do that, because the minute I play f5, obviously e6 is really weak. But I mean, if I did something like knight d7 and he went bishop g4, say, and then if I played f5, pawn takes. Yeah, I mean, obviously I can't do that. That would lose the pawn, obviously. But okay, so bishop g4, knight e5. So yeah, that'd stop that line for him. That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? But I mean, the point is, what he could do, he could retreat the bishop to g2, and then play h4, and then maybe stick the bishop on h3. That would be an awkward diagonal. The bishop on h3 would be actually very awkward. So I might actually have to play f5 in response to that if I could. Maybe play e6 first in that line, then pawn takes d5, then f5. It would still be a very weak light. See, this is the thing. I am going to have some weak light squares, I guess. And that was the downside of swapping the bishop for the knight. But I mean, on the positive side in doing that, you know, he'd already be really threatening to play e5 if I hadn't done that. And plus, you know, it gives me he has got more space, so, you know, swapping off one minor piece, it kind of eases my congestion a bit, I guess. Always seems really I mean, you'd think, as I say, you know, I don't know all that much about Benoni positions, but what I do know, yeah, so he's played bishop g2. I wonder if he's going to aim to stick it on h3. But yeah, you'd think in Benoni positions, like with the light square bishop on d7 looks a really natural square, but in my experience of it, that is kind of it can be really difficult to play the position with a bishop on d7. It's kind of too cluttered. It never seems to work very well, so I always try and keep away from that plan. Not that I play these bishops very well. I did try and play the Benoni for a couple of months about a year ago, and I kind of gave it up for a few other things that I've been playing since.